Back in the garage today, back in the garage today. What's going on, guys? Back in the garage today, getting ready to work on my 2016 KTM 1290 Super Adventure. Now, mine is a 2016 year model. Like I just said, I picked it up in September of 2016. I'm recording this in June of 2025. And the TPMS sensors, because we all know they're battery powered, they're not working so hot anymore. Probably like a year and a half ago, the rear one was kind of intermittent. On this latest trip I took Memorial Day weekend, the front one was becoming intermittent. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace both of them in today's video. Now, it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. Bad news is I'm running the older style ones and I'm gonna have to replace the entire sensor, so I'm not really getting much of a price break. Good news is, if I ever have to replace them again in the future, I don't have to replace every piece of it, and the price has come down significantly. However, I had to buy the entire kit. It's an updated part number. I'll show you all that stuff here in a minute. If you're running one of the newer model bikes, I don't know what year they went to these newer style, you're not gonna have to spend quite as much money, as you're only gonna have to replace the sensor and not the entire valve stem and everything else that really adds to the cost. So I'm gonna go ahead, and my game plan is, since I know the front one's still working somewhat, I'm gonna remove the rear wheel first. I'm going to show you how to change out the TPMS sensor on the rear wheel and how to assemble it, because it does come in multiple pieces now. Then I'm going to put the rear wheel back on, because my thought process is, then when I go back out and ride it, the computer should pick up the new rear sensor since the front one's still working. And as long as that works, which we'll test out and make sure it works, then I'll go back and replace the one in the front. So I'm not actually going to show you how to remove the wheels from the bike today. I've already done a video on that. I'll link that up there if you don't know how to do it. If you do, great, go ahead and pull a wheel off the bike and follow along with the next few steps. All right, so welcome over to the shop that you guys never get to see on camera. First thing we're gonna do is remove the valve cap, and then we're gonna use a valve core removal tool to remove the valve core. So I'm using my No-Mar tire changer. If you don't have one of these, you can just use old school spoons, whatever. I've used this thing to change hundreds and hundreds of tires. We gotta get the tire off. But the one thing you wanna be careful of is where the valve stem is, that is where your TPMS sensor is, and you don't wanna damage that. Now in this case, we don't really care because it doesn't work, but just keep that in mind. First thing you gotta do is get this tire off though. All right, so with the bead broken on this side, we're gonna flip it over. And if you're wondering what's in this spray bottle, it's just a little bit of soapy water that just helps a little bit. And we need to break it down on the opposite side here too. All right, so the bead broken all the way around. I like to swap out these clamps for the posi clamps. So we're going to put those in, get the wheel locked down, and get the tire removed. All right, so with the wheel locked in to the posi clamps, get our bar down in here, fill this up. All right, let's get this side off. Now we got to reach down, get the bottom side of the tire, same thing. You guys, after watching this, everybody's going to want a No-Mar tire changer when you see how easy that is. All right, I want to keep my orientation of the tire the same, so I'm just going to set it down over here. And now we should be able to get to the TPMS sensor, so let me get a close-up over here and show you what we're working with. All right, now, so if we take a look here, this is our TPMS sensor. This is what we're gonna have to pull out here in a second. The way we do this is we're gonna hop on the other side of the rim, and we're gonna get a 12 millimeter. You can use socket or a wrench. Let me show you. We're gonna get on this nut right here and just spin that off, and then we ought to be able to pop this out of place. And then when you pull it out through here, there is a little O-ring, so it may hang up on this rubber gasket just a little bit, so just kind of work it out. There you go, TPMS sensor has been removed. All right, so let's take a look at some things here. Here is the old school TPMS sensor that we just removed. It's basically just two pieces, it's this and the nut. They've updated it to this new part number, which is, I'll link it down below and put it up on the screen, but it's 6031213300. But this is an entire kit. And if you're gonna replace this whole thing, you're gonna have to have this whole kit. So inside the kit, and again, I'll put this part number up too. I'm not gonna read them all out, but this is your new valve stem and valve nut. This is the sensor bolt that we're going to need. By the way, you'll need a Torx T15 to install that. Here is your new valve cap and valve core. And then last but not least, the sensor. And what's cool about this is if this goes bad in the future, you only have to replace this part, which is significantly less than buying all of this, or back when they were still selling these, probably about $100 or more less than one of these. So moving forward, you would just have to replace this, and hopefully, you know, if we get another 8-9 years out of it, maybe I don't have to worry about it. So let's start to get this assembled, so then we can get this back on our wheel. All right, so if we take a look at this, we need to assemble these two things, and if we look really closely, I don't know if the camera's going to show it or not, you can sort of see it. There's a little notch on this, so it'll only go on one way, and you can see the little notch inside there. There's a little groove on the valve stem, so we're just going to push these two together for right now, and it should just snap together. You'll hear it click, and it's in place. Now we are going to take the little TPMS bolt or screw there. It already has Loctite on it. We are going to torque that down to only 2.4 Newton meters. It's not much because this entire assembly is plastic, and obviously we don't want to crack it. That's it. It's all tightened up. Next thing I'm going to do is, if you look down here, there is a rubber gasket. I'm going to take a thin coat of grease and just put a thin coat of grease around that rubber gasket to help it seal better when we put it back in the rim. Okay, so with our grease around the ring there, we're just going to press the TPMS sensor in place. Now, you notice the orientation. Basically, you want this facing the opposite way of what the wheel turns. So the wheel turns this way, so I want this facing the back. Our new valve nut does have Loctite on it, so we're just going to spin it on by hand to begin with, and then we're going to torque it down to 12 Newton meters. Now, when you do that, make sure you hold on to this sensor because you don't want it spinning out of place. There we go. All right, so we're going to take our tire. We're just going to work it back down on. Use our mount bar. I'm going to use the monkey paw this go around. We'll see how it does. That's it. And one thing I like to do, I don't like to leave them in the posi clamps before I air it up. So I'm going to pop it out of here. And guys, I apologize for the noise. We're in a metal building. It's raining out right now, so it sounds super loud. All right, next up, we're going to take our new valve core and use our valve core tool. I'll link that down in the description if you want one of these Motion Pro ones. They're pretty nice, especially on spoke rims. I'm going to go ahead and seat that down. Now I got to fire up my air compressor and get some air in this thing, make sure it holds. All right, so with the tire off the posi clamps, just sit back on these other ones. We're just going to attach the air hose and it should pop back up on the bead. There she goes. Now you just want to get out your tire pressure gauge. Once you get your 42 PSI in, or whatever you're running yours at, the only thing we got left to do is put the valve cap back on. And we are done swapping out the TPS sensor for the rear wheel. All right, so that is it for changing out one of the old style TPMS sensors for one of the new ones. Next thing we got to do is put the wheel back on the bike and go take it down the road, and I'm going to let you know how that works and make sure it syncs up. Most people are going to balance their tires. I'm not going to show you how to do that. One, I don't typically balance my rear wheels. I always balance my front wheel. I do have a static balancer back there behind me that I'll use. I'm not going to tell you what to do with yours. Some people like throwing those beads in there. Do whatever it is, make sure you're safe. I've just found that balancing the front is usually good enough for me, but your mileage may vary. Anyway, we're going to head back over to the house. We're going to get this thing put back on, and then if it ever stops raining, I'm going to go test it out.
All right, so it's the next day because it stopped raining. We're going to go out and test this rear TPMS sensor and see if the computer links it up. So looking at it right now, it's showing 601 on both my GPS and the bike. We're just going to go ahead and reset trip 1. We're going to see when this thing starts to register. All right, front one's working. It's showing it's a little low, which may be the case. See if the rear one kicks in. So something I want to mention real quick. I did go check the rear because it's been sitting overnight. The tire pressure was showing the same. It was like 42, 42 and a half, something like that. Should have probably checked the front because it's been sitting there a couple weeks, but I definitely want to make sure to check the rear since we just remounted that tire, and also see how accurate this TPMS sensor is if it does kick in. And if we take a look, it was just showing 43, now it's showing 45. I guess it's got a little more heat in it. And if we take a look at the trip odometer, hopefully you guys can see that. A little less than 3 miles and a little less than 5 minutes it kicked on. So I'm pretty stoked that that actually worked. Now what I'm going to do is head back to the house. I'm going to pull the front wheel off. I'm going to swap that one out for the new one because, like I said, this one's working intermittently. Also seems like I need a few pounds of pressure in the front tire. And should be all good to go. All right, we have the front TPMS sensor in. We're going to go for a quick ride, see if it syncs up. Oh, that thing literally kicked on at almost the same exact spot the last one kicked on at. Let me check my mileage. Just short of 3 miles again. All right, sweet. Both the front sensor and the rear sensor are working. I'd say they're both pretty accurate. All right, it actually worked. The theory worked. Listen, guys. Oh, we're gonna have a little excitement in this back in the garage video. There we go. Get all the Bambis across the road. All right, guys. So I'm gonna end this video a little bit different than I do most of them. We are not gonna end this in the garage. We're gonna end it out on the road because I am hot, sweaty, tired, and hungry. And we're also under a severe thunderstorm watch, so I just want to get this thing back in the garage before I get rained on. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider that subscribe button, because if you like motorcycles, this is the place to be. All the parts and everything I use will be down in the description below. I'll even link the Nomar tire changer if you want to check one out for yourself. I have no affiliation with those guys, and I've had mine for probably going on 10 years now, and I absolutely love it. So but if you do have any questions, let me know down in the comments section below. I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, I'll talk to you again soon. You can see that I was so sure of myself that it was going to work that I didn't even bother to turn the garage light off or put the door down.